Got to love that mentality.
I say easy to like him.
Seriously, I mean, we even saw that, and you during the game highlight even pointed it out. Cunningham goes down, Jenkins comes in. They're still winning some ball games. There's some offense there. Made the most of his opportunities. He's shining right now in the postseason as well. I made reference to this. You were with this team back in January. You came back. I remember doing some shows with you. You seemed to really like the makeup of this team. What have you seen? What did you see on that trip that points to a #1 seed like we got, a first-round win against Orlando, even when they were facing pressure, and now a 2-0 series lead?
I think we underrate that connection as a talent. They use their connection as a group as a talent, and they just overwhelm teams with their group. You can't just. Yes, Cade is great. Don't get me wrong, but the way that they wear teams down is collective. And they just keep coming at you and keep coming at you. And they don't care if it's ugly. See, that's the thing. Like, you know how they say don't get in a fight with a pig because you just gonna get caught. That's them. Like, they want it grimy. They want it dirty. Even when Cleveland tried to pick up their physicality and all that was like Detroit said, oh, okay, let's go. Now we playing, you know? And so, what I've seen from them more than anything is just they have stuck together. And I want to credit somebody. Trajan Langdon deserves a lot of credit. Yeah. Because all year, I think all of us, the talking heads have gotten to pick at this team. I know I questioned, did they have a second ball handler? Did they have enough shooting? Trajan Langdon saw something in Jenkins, and he said, you know what? We're going to stick with this kid to be the second ball handler. And he went out and he got Herder as another shooter, subtle moves. And I think they were those are great decisions. It's not always the decision that you make to go get somebody. It's to value the people in your building, know the talent in your building, and use it. And so, to his credit, they saw that in Jenkins, and they really, this kid is starting to thrive. And the other thing with Jenkins that you see a ton of now, Cade is getting live ball catches on the post. You can't do that when you're bringing the ball up every time. Not most of the time. If you're doing that, you got to enter it, cut into the post, get it back. Right now, he's just walking to the block. He's walking to the elbow because they trust Jenkins so much to initiate offense and to be a player. So that's a huge advantage for them.
Yeah. Go for it.
No, I think that connectivity is so important
huge
when you talk about that, because that's what great teams, they take players, and it's not a knock against those players because they're great players, they're good players, but it takes them to another level when you're connected like that. It almost makes you greater than the sum of the parts.
No doubt.
Like you see that in teams like Oklahoma City. Absolutely is an example of that.
San Antonio. Look at Wemby was in and out all year. They were short minutes, long. Like, they just kept rolling.
Yeah.
Right. And I think we think that Detroit didn't have that in them, but we're starting to see that that's absolutely the case with this squad.
Yep. They are truly rooting for each other. They fight for each other. They believe in each guy. And it doesn't matter who's out there. They have deep belief in every single guy. And obviously, J.B. Bickerstaff, what a job he's done. I know I'm biased. He's my guy. But
this has to be cathartic for him, too, against the team that fired you.
But think about this, too, though. Like I said, we was on the connectivity. Cleveland, as talented as James Harden is and all that, they only played 30 games together. Dennis Schroeder, all of those guys, they have not been together like this. This Detroit team has gone through a lot together. They learned together. They've fallen together. A lot of those kids were there when they got their butts kicked, and had the worst losing streak in the history, right? So they've gone through all of this stuff. So when I say connectivity as a talent, it's when it's a deeper level of being connected. And Cleveland, although they played some good basketball up to this point once they got James Harden, 20-10, they couldn't build that kind of connectivity that Detroit is playing with.
Yeah. From a Cleveland perspective, though, you had made this observation when you were seeing double bigs out on the floor. Coach comes out during the press conference and says, I'm going to continue to play my double bigs. You turned to me and you said, man, that would be a dream come true if I was out on the floor.
I don't think there's enough contrast out there, especially when you're playing against a team as physical as the Detroit Pistons. You need some enforcers out there, some big bodies who aren't going to let those Detroit Pistons bigs bully you. Because I've seen this Cavs team. I think they have some amazingly talented players. But I remember they played the Knicks in a playoff series. And that series came down to Mitchell Robinson and securing extra possessions.
Yep.
And that's what the playoffs are entirely about.
I think they're gonna have to make some tough decisions because, again, if they can hold you to 97, you're cooked, right? And right now, Cleveland, they hung their hats on being a high-powered offensive team, giving James and Donovan as much room to work as possible. And I think with the two bigs right now, they're not even guarding Mobley at the three. If you watch every single Mobley three-point shot, they're open. And it's a reason, because Detroit is totally helping off of him, clogging the paint up as much as possible, especially when he's at the four. So now, like you said, now you're talking about four guys in the paint. Where is Spider going? Where is James going? James's game is predicated on getting to the front of the rim. You can't get to the front of the rim with Jarrett Allen and Mobley on the floor, because Detroit's just going to stand in the paint.
Yeah. Meanwhile, there is some good news from a Cavs perspective. Series shifts to Cleveland for game number 3. So all Detroit has done is hold serve. We still got more to come here on NBA TV. In fact, some of those press conferences, we will hear from some of these star players as soon as they hit the podium. We're going to break LeBron James, and keep in mind, as soon as that game is over, tune right back to us here on NBA TV. We got the press conferences, head coaches, not to mention some of those star players. The first game, we saw the Detroit Pistons take a 2-0 series lead against the Cavaliers. We're awaiting some of those players. As soon as they hit the podium, we'll bring you some of their thoughts. I want to circle back, though. You were talking about the double big lineup and how you would love to see that if you were on the Pistons squad. You were hammering this while we were watching the game. You thought they needed to make some adjustments.
All year I've kind of just been on that. I think the Cleveland Cavaliers are going to have to figure out that situation. I just don't think in today's age of how many points you got to score to keep up with the pace that teams are playing at, the amount of threes that teams are shooting, the analytics don't add up when you put two bigs out there that can't shoot. And Mobley can make a three. No one is going to guard Mobley as a three-point shooter. That's a big difference, right? It's 100 guys in the league right now that's capable of making a three. But in the playoffs, when teams have to pick their poisons, they're going to let Mobley shoot 10 of them.
Yeah.
And he's got to make shots, and I don't think he's going to make enough of those to get Detroit to change what they're doing. If he does, more power to him, and, that's great. But I just... all year I've thought that would come back to bite them. And I get what Coach Atkinson is saying. These two guys have gotten them where they are. So you're going to ride with your guys. And so I understand what Coach is saying about sticking with his two bigs. But I think he's got to really, like the pocket they found tonight when they came back. They had Mobley at the 5. They had more shooting out on the floor. They made a big run and came back and took the lead. They're going to have to find multiple pockets in the game where either Allen is out there without Mobley or vice versa, and they put as much space on the floor for James Harden and Donovan Mitchell to get downhill, because that's their game and that's when they're at their absolute best. And you got to give those guys, those two guys have to have a chance to explode if they got any chance of beating Detroit.
Yeah. There's a stat, I gave it a little bit earlier, and it's still, it's as wild a stat that I've heard, because James Harden is future Hall of Famer. In this game, he's got 10 points, he's 3 of 13 from the floor, and he's got 4 turnovers. And the reason why the turnovers is significant, as well as those field goals, this is the 30th playoff game where he's got more turnovers than field goals made. Can someone please explain to me how that's even possible for a guy at that stature?
Only thing that comes to my head, it's his job to go out there, shoot the ball, and it's his job to go out there and get his teammates the ball. That's what James Harden does. He attacks the rim, shoots threes, and with all that attention he draws, dishes out to his teammates. And that's clearly the way guys are game planning him for the playoffs.
Yeah, and when you look at most of his playoff career, he was out there by himself. Yeah. He had shooting, but I'm talking about from a playmaking standpoint.
That's true.
He had the ball in his hands 100% of the time. And when teams really locked in on him and started putting a ton of pressure on him and running multiple people at him, he had no answer for how to get out of that, right? And so that's why you see the 30 games of it, so high. But you got to remember, and we brought this up in the back, when he had a second buddy when he was at his peak, they were one game away from going to the finals. Chris Paul tore his hamstring. They were up 3-2. About to walk away on Golden State, and he tore his hamstring. And so, a lot of those numbers are skewed just because the guy literally, his usage rate at that time during that time in the league was through the roof. And so he was getting, sometimes in playoffs, getting triple doubles with turnovers, just because he always had the ball. But there is something else too. He's got to step up. and he's got to rise in those moments. He got to play better than he played tonight. You know, I always use the SPO phrase, you got to actively participate in your own rescue. He didn't do that tonight.
I like that.
He did not. He just drowned. He went down with the Titanic, right? You did not see him fighting out of it, and I think a lot of it had to do with how Detroit kept picking on him.
Yeah.
Right? It just wears on you mentally, like these guys are going to put me in the situation every single time down the court. I'm going to have to guard the best player. And so doing that, picking them up full court, if you watch every pick and roll they tried to set at half court to get them free, Durham was all the way out to half court, jumping out and stopping his forward momentum to get to the rim. Like, they are making sure he doesn't get a running start at the basket. So they're going to have to figure that out. James has to do his own part. But I do think if Kenny can find pockets of putting more space on the floor, that would be a big help for James and Donovan.
Yeah. Meanwhile, let's take you back to Detroit right now. Donovan Mitchell, Jarrett Allen addressing the media. We'll bring you that press conference here on NBA TV.
Donovan, you guys scored the first 6 points of the fourth quarter and took your first lead since the first possession of the game, and then Detroit closed the game on a 28-16 extended run the rest of the way. Why do you think that you guys could not, I guess, get over the hump again in the fourth quarter?
Timely makes by them, timely offensive rebounds, timely misses by us. I think you all that as a collective, and yeah. I mean, I go back and watch the film, but just my initial response is just they countered, they hit, and they did what they're supposed to do. They won 2 at home.
And then you guys have trailed by double digits in 7 of the last 8 games that you've played in the playoffs so far. How come this team seems to always be fighting an uphill battle?
I mean, I think the biggest thing starts with just it's self-inflicted. I mean, I feel like it's turnovers. I mean, we won the possession game in a sense, but just like the way we started, I think hasn't been great. We got to figure that out. I think the turnovers, the little things, little details, and a lot of the stuff is self-inflicted. But when we get home, we'll clean that up and go from there.
Hey, Donovan, what were you playing through in the second half there?
Playing through?
Yeah, what were you playing through?
Nothing.
Looked like you were a little hobbled.
Nope.
You came out in the fourth quarter right around the midway point. Did you need a blow at that point in time?
No, that's kind of been where I come out for like a minute and a half, 2 minutes or whatever, but no.
And then you guys in the regular season were one of the best teams in the NBA in the clutch. And it hasn't been that way so far in the playoffs, and it wasn't that way in the last 2 games. What are you seeing in clutch moments that just isn't what it was for you guys in the regular season?
Playoff basketball is a different type of basketball. And kudos to them. They play excellent defense. Sometimes I think we overthink things. I think we overthink our offense when we've had, like you said, some of the best offense towards the end of the game for the past 82 games. And we just start to speed ourselves up. And honestly, we haven't been hitting shots at all this playoffs as well.
Donovan, what are you seeing from James right now? He's 3 of 13 from the field tonight. Just what are you seeing from him, and kind of what can you guys do to help him get going?
You think of just little things, spacing, trying to get him easier looks. Honestly, just him just continue to be in attack mode, right? He's James Harden. We're not sitting here worried. He's going to figure this out, and we got to do a better job around him as well, whether it's spacing or put him in different positions, and we'll have that conversation. We've been having that conversation, and at the end of the day, we're going to figure it out. I mean, even like last possession where he lost the ball, I could have stayed in the corner with Thompson, right? You know what I mean? So there's little things like that. Just getting on the same page. We'll be fine. We'll figure it out.
And then you had more success just getting into the paint and attacking early, especially when you first got going there. Just what do you think led to that? Was it something you saw in film? Was it just kind of reading the flow of the game?
I mean, can't complain about fouls and then not go to the rim.
Oh, he's right about that. They did do a better job of that, but they need to regroup for game number 3.